This video is intended to give you an overview of the PPCL debugger. To start the debugger, simply open the program editor and make sure that your current program compiles and is saved to the database. Right-click and then select Launch PPCL Debugger. Note that you must save the program to the database, as the debugger reads the program directly out of the database and not from the program editor. So make sure you save your program first. First, the program loads all the points into the various point windows. These points are read from the PPCL program itself. Then the debugger goes and finds all the initial values from the database and fills in the value column of all the point windows. First, an overview in general about the PPCL debugger. First, there's no impact to the running system or equipment. Nothing else is required. The PPCL debugger is actually a subset of the entire firmware. So it doesn't work 100% the same as it would with online firmware running. There's only a PPCL evaluator and no restrictions from the firmware. Normally, firmware adds restrictions to the PPCL, but not here. For example, if PPCL commands a point, but that point was commanded somewhere else at a higher priority, normally the firmware rejects the PPCL command. In the debugger case, the evaluator actually allows that to happen. Also, some PPCL commands don't do anything. For example, statements that require actual hardware and feedback from the firmware on the hardware. So for example, node 0 through 99 status, battery status, and such. Other examples are simply certain PPCL statements don't run. For those statements that actually require online operation, those statements have been, in essence, nulled out, and the statement executes, but the statement itself actually doesn't do anything, and the program continues. You can actually run multiple copies of the debugger. However, there's no interaction between PPCL programs themselves. They work independently. Additionally, there's no interaction with other tool editors like the Commander, Dynamic Plotter, and such. Again, this is a completely standalone operation. Let's take a look at the UI and see how it's set up. First, you can see the PPCL source code sitting in the middle. This is the same UI style as the program editor. There's nice syntax coloring for ease of reading of the PPCL program, and the colors alternate so you can see the lines, the difference between the lines more easily. Next, you see the 4 different types of point windows. Analog output points stay together, digital outputs, digital inputs, analog inputs. Additionally, there are resident and local points in their own window. And finally, there's proof points for the different digital or bundled points. This is actually a nice feature. Normally you cannot see those through the running system, but they are accessible through the debugger. Now for each of the point windows, you see that there's a name, a value, and a status. And also the priority. The status and priority default to normal and none. These point windows are interactive. The values are updated as the program is run, but the user can also use this like the commander and change the values to see how it impacts the running PPCL program. Of course, you can't change the point name, but you can change the value, the status, and the priority, either while the program is stopped or on the fly. This window came up because this was the last user interface that I selected. The debugger comes with 3 default user interfaces. The debugger will remember the last one you use and return to the same state as it was the last time you used the debugger. To select a different view, simply select the Tool menu, Configure Display, and select one of the 3 default views. Additionally, by default it sets to display the entire point name, but you can also only display the last field name in case you have long point names. In this case, I've chosen to enter the point name prefix of A01. There are some default delimiters in here, or you can simply type what you want. And now only the last pertinent part of the point name displays, making the display easier to view. Now, all of these windows are dockable, but we warn you to try to use the defaults as the dockable windows seem to have a mind of their own sometimes, and sometimes they're difficult to dock where you want them to dock. Although with some practice, you can set the windows, and I will have a special video to show how to do that, but just note that they are somewhat difficult to get oriented, which is why we provided 3 different defaults. Now finally, when you get down to actually debugging your program, there's a toolbar with all the commands that you'll need to use on a regular basis. We'll go over these later.